Are you serious? Are you actually thinking about moving to southern Missouri? You do know that there's humidity in Missouri, right? Like you're gonna actually at some point get sweaty, guaranteed. Or maybe you have a more significant motive driving your desire to move. Maybe you're like me and you have a deeper why than weather. Moving to southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family. So we are gonna go over 10 reasons that you might not wanna move to Missouri. In particular, southern Missouri. These things are gonna maybe be a deal breaker for you. For some of you, you're gonna be like, you know what? I can handle that. And pros and cons are kind of like tomato. You know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, as they say. So I want to give you some kind of lighthearted information, and it may help you make a decision about whether or not Missouri would be for you. Number one reason that you may not want to move to Missouri is there's weather in Missouri. Sometimes it's really cold, and sometimes it's really hot. And sometimes it's so cold or so hot, you feel uncomfortable. And that seems to be a big deal to people. I don't get it. And I moved from California, but Northern California. Okay, so in Northern California, I mean, at one point we were snowed in for 4 months. So, you know, there is all and everything there. So I've always been used to seasons, and I don't mind seasons. I actually like them. So, because I know that winter will go away eventually. I know that summer will cool down, you know. So it's kind of like just having that foresight to know that it will be okay. Number two reason that you should not move to southern Missouri is there are Jurassic bugs here. Bugs that are so big that you feel like they're gonna knock you out if they hit you. And bugs that are so small you can't see them, and they may just drive you mad. We're gonna talk about it. Okay, you guys, we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty about bugs. The first bug I want to talk about that I hear the most concern about are the ticks in Missouri. And it is true. I feel like there are a lot of ticks in Missouri. I grew up in rural Northern California, and we had a lot of ticks there too. But I never experienced, like, I don't know what to call it, but like blooms of seed ticks where you'll be covered. Like if you just trudge through the forest and trudge through high grass, you will be covered in ticks. I had never experienced that before. So we have come up with some precautions that we learned from locals, which are kind of easy, but I would have never thought of them. The first one is to have a lint roller with you at all times. When you're in rural areas like hunting and all of that, you just keep a lint roller in your truck. So you lint roller after you have, you know, had that kind of high exposure, and it is amazing. Both big and small, but really those small, tiny seed ticks will just come up on that lint roller. And so I have found that if I take preventative measure and, you know, responsive action, I pretty much don't get ticks. It's when I get lazy. And I do get lazy. Like I will straight sit down in the grass, know that I'm probably have bugs crawling all over me, and just I'm working, I don't really care anymore. And I'm hungry, I'll go in and I'll eat, and I won't take a shower, change my clothes, and then maybe I sit down on a couch. I mean, really, this is how you bring like vermin and pests and parasites into your home. So when I'm responsible, I lint roll before I, you know, come into any home. And then I change my clothes, I shower, and then just know that if I'm gonna go inside, outside, I'm just very thoughtful. So like, you know, if I'm just gonna come in and like grab a snack, grab water and go out, I don't do all that. But if I was gonna actually sit on furniture, that is what I do most of the time. There's always some times where, you know, a girl gets lazy. But yeah, so ticks, if you take action, it's really not too big of a deal. The next bug that we got to talk about, because I feel like it gets kind of a lot of negative hype, and it ended up to be a bug that really didn't affect me at all, actually. So that is cicadas. So cicadas are those Jurassic, just giant prehistoric looking bug that, there's lots of biblical stories about them completely decimating crops and having a huge negative impact on humanity. So I think I've always had this like deep-seated fear of cicadas. And I want to say 2 years ago, we had a cicada. I don't know what to call it, bloom. I'm just going to use the word bloom. We had that cicada year, right? And it was crazy. Literally going outside, you are getting thumped on the head, and that is unnerving. There was times where I'd be like, oh, it feels actually really nice right now. Like it's kind of low humidity and opening a window. And then they'd thump the screen so hard, I felt like they were gonna break the screen. And I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating, and maybe I was just being paranoid, but it literally felt like that. So I'd close the window because I didn't want the cicadas to bust through. So saying all that, they are very loud. I ended up enjoying the sound. Yeah, it didn't keep me up. I just ended up kind of liking the sound. It's intense. It's definitely, you hear it wherever you are. And so here's the other thing I think that I had fear about is we had just planted a garden too. So we had a lot of young sprouts, and throughout the whole garden, young to maturing, I didn't notice any cicada damage. So please put a comment down below if I just was in some weird little microcosm where the cicadas didn't eat my garden. And if that's not normal, because after that, I just started feeling like they were an amazing source of protein for our chickens. And I could be wrong, but I felt like our egg yolks were particularly orange that year. So because I couldn't really see, I couldn't justify hating cicadas, I kind of just let it go. And I feel like we had higher nutritional value in our eggs that year. So yeah, I'm not a cicada hater. After I just recorded that, I realized that locusts are in the Bible. So are cicadas okay and locusts are bad? I'm pretty sure we have cicadas here though, because everyone talked about cicadas. But they're really big. That's all I gotta say. They are big. So I have no fear about ticks, cicada, the spiders. I've never even seen a scorpion here. I don't even know if there is scorpions here. I've never seen one here. But the bug that literally strikes fear in my heart that I've still never seen are the chiggers. Okay? They have taken me to a place of mental collapse almost. So I'm not an itcher. I can actually power through and mental through itching. So poison oak, I won't itch it. Mosquito bites, I won't itch it. Chigger bites, I don't even know what's up with those. I would find myself waking up in the night and scratching till I bled. And I've never been like that. So I now take chiggers seriously. Okay, during chigger season in the summer, you can't just sit down in the grass with your crack showing and think that you won't pay for it. Okay, so I am now very mindful. And it's kind of like the tick thing. It's okay, you can't just sit down anywhere. Be aware after you go climbing through the forest or tall grass, shower, change your clothes. We actually, when we know we've been in chiggers, we will put our clothes in the garage. If we don't wash them right away, really what you should do is just throw them in hot water and wash them right then and there. Hot showers, scrubbing. So I highly, highly recommend taking chiggers seriously. I want you guys to make sure that you watch the video all the way to the end, because at the end, I'm gonna have a homesteading tip that's gonna help you grow a better garden in Southern Missouri. Number 3 reason that you should not move to Southern Missouri is there's hillbillies here. They're everywhere. There's just hillbillies everywhere. And if that is a concern of yours, I'm thinking Missouri might not be for you. Number 4 reason that you should not move to Southern Missouri is there's no to little government restrictions. Now, I'm gonna be honest, that does have pros and cons. For me, I will take all the cons just to have that freedom any day. It is why my family and I moved here. Honestly. So yeah, but for some people, it's a bad thing. And I do want to be honest, a con that I think is very legitimate is, not having tons of enforcement over zoning or building codes that matter, that could actually help to improve, quality of human life. Here's the thing. I find that it's like you give government, whether it's local, state, or federal, just the littlest bit of power, and you give it to them with this real earnest desire that they promote, quality of life for humanity. And what do they do with it? Even down to the local level. I mean, monsters are made. Now that's just my opinion, and I completely understand that there's a lot of opinions. So here's what I would say though. I do encourage people to do inspections. I think that that is where people can figure out a lot about a property. It's like a snapshot of everything about the property. What I tell people is it's like 50 pages of just every literal thing that's wrong with the property. So yeah, I would always recommend having someone look through the electrical system. That seems to be the number one cause of house fires here in Missouri, is faulty electrical. And that could be connected to the fact that there's no to very little enforced government regulations. And I don't mind. Wait, that sounded bad. I do mind that there's house fires. But what I think is that, it should encourage people to take responsibility for their safety and for their lives. And I believe, honestly, even though it's challenging, that's when humanity flourishes, is when they take responsibility. But I don't want house fires. Number 5 reason you should probably most definitely not move to Southern Missouri is we have some of the lowest vaccination rates. That's something that certain people should be aware of, and very well may make them realize that this is not the state they want to move, and maybe they actually have desire to stay in the state that they are trying to move from, if you know what I'm saying. And because those rates are so low in Missouri, the Fed said that they were going to come in uninvited and do a door-to-door policy. And here's what the Missouri governor said about federal intervention.
When it comes to vaccinated people in Missouri, Governor Mike Parson does not want outside help. In a recent tweet, he says the federal government is not welcomed in Missouri. His tweet comes after President Biden called for a door-to-door vaccine push.
And number 6 reason that you actually seriously might not want to move to Southern Missouri is that things do not get done fast. In fact, it seems to be noticeably slow. And I mean, you could really talk about this in all sorts of areas of life, but really in business. And, it's just something that I've had to accept. And it's made me very appreciative when people come through, when they actually do what they say they're going to do, when they come and give you the estimate, when they say they're going to, or, all those things. It makes me very appreciative. And I'm going to be honest. And if you're in Southern Missouri and you're running a business, I want you to hear this, that, I help clients rehab properties, investors, and I am building teams around people who do what they say. So I think it's something to be said. I think that it does help business no matter what state you're in. So like if you say you're going to be there at Monday at 2 and for some reason you can't, you literally call or text and say you're not going to, Now, like I said, I came from rural Northern California, and this kind of casual, attitude towards business was definitely there too. But then I moved to Butte County. I was going to school in Chico, and it's, it's smaller than Springfield, but definitely like it's a hub. And just what I got used to, like really reliable business. Like people totally get a hold of you if they're not going to make it. And here in Southern Missouri, like you're not going to get a phone call. I mean, rarely do you get a phone call. And then you're texting and you're calling and you're leaving voicemail. And then like a week later you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to be there for like 3 more weeks. And you're like, okay, that would have been really good to know, because I have 3 other people who cannot do their work until you do yours. And it would have been really good to know. So I find that it is truth, that you know that things do not get done fast, but just like anywhere, whatever your needs are, for the most part, you can build, you know, circles around yourself, teams that that do what they say, and that will kind of buffer that issue. Number 7 reason that you should not move to Southern Missouri, and this one's for real, y'all. This one's tough. And that is that the food scene needs some love. You know, I miss very little about California. I miss a few beaches, like private beaches where I used to go. I miss some of the really steep mountainous areas, like the Marble Mountain Wilderness. Like, I mean, we're talking Alps that feel like, you know, Switzerland. You know, people don't realize that's in Northern California. There's a few rednecks I miss that helped me learn horsemanship, but really what I really miss is the food. It's so good. It's so good in California. And as much as, you know, you may hate California I may never go back. I may never go back. The restaurants there are off the chain. They're so good, and I still think about them. I do. I think about certain meals, certain restaurants. There's restaurants that I didn't get to make it to that I still think about. Like, oh, I wish I would have made it to that restaurant. Like, I know I would remember that meal for the rest of my life. So, okay, so obviously I am a foodie. If you are not a foodie, just fast forward. Like, you won't understand this passion. And I'm not a good cook. Like, ask my family. I have been a better cook, but I'm out of practice. And yeah, cooking is not my passion. I'm just gonna be honest. I do like to cook sometimes. I mean, I cook all the time, but you know, sometimes it shows that I wish I was not doing it. But what I love is really good food, which is probably made by someone else, okay? So it's not all bad here in Missouri though. I would say, there's some massive changes. I don't want to say farm to table because I know that makes people like uptight, like that's so California, but it's happening, okay? Because Missouri is like the state to do that. Like, I mean, even more than California, like everybody and their mother is producing meat and produce, like seriously. So there's just such a cornucopia here, or whatever that word is. So yeah, there's so much potential. I do really miss raw oysters. That was one of my last pregnancy foods, like chocolate milk and raw oysters. I don't know what was going on there, and it was raw milk too. Raw chocolate milk is really good. And raw oysters are really good. So we did find a restaurant in Springfield, which is called Char. And it is pricey, but I'll tell you what, you know, we will go back again just for a good steak and raw oysters. I mean, really just for the raw oysters. You can get a more affordable steak. I mean, we just cook them at home, honestly. So yeah, so what I do believe that the food scene is seriously improving in Missouri, and we get our itch scratched every time in Springfield. Like, I am not a city person. I want to admit that. I do like to be in the city. I like high-end things. I like high-end alternative medicine. I mean, all sorts of stuff that it's hard to find in rural areas. I do. I like fancy. And when I need that, I do go to the city. But I'm country. But I would say the food just keeps bringing me back to Springfield. I could go to Springfield. I mean, I kind of do go to Springfield like 2 times a week. And I, you know, usually eat something really good. So, and it can be barbecue really good. It can be, you know, even just like a great salad. It can be great sushi. It can be great Thai. It can be so many things. Ooh, great Peruvian food. So yeah, Springfield, Missouri has made it where we do not suffer. We don't suffer really at all. Number 8 reason that you don't want to move to Southern Missouri unless you've got a zero turn. For those of you mowers out there, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so number 8 is that Missouri literally stays green almost all year long. So we've been having so much frost. It is beginning of December. We've had a little bit of rain though, and like the grass is getting green again. Like, not all of it, some of it is dying, but there's actually a amazing, kind of surprising amount of green grass still. So in a kind of traditional year, although we have been in a series of drought years, but even in these drought years, only one of the years I saw it get really brown for like maybe pushing between 2 to 3 months, maybe, but definitely 2 months of brown. And that was like really surprising. Often it's really 1 to 2 months, I would say, of the majority of the grass is brown. So what that means for those of you that are into regenerative ranching, rotational grazing, it means that you're only going to be supplement feeding your cattle or whatever your grass eating animals are, maybe, 1 month out of the year. I mean, that's what I've heard a lot of farmers who really manage their grass. So when I say that, that means that they're being thoughtful about where they're going to graze in the winter. They made sure that they didn't hay that right before the, cold snap, and that they have some of that like bulk, fiber is just kind of waiting there for the cows. So yeah, for those ranchers that are thoughtful like that, a lot of them talk about only supplement feeding really 1 month out of the year. You will hear 2 months out of the year, and those that do not use rotational grazing, they'll feed a lot more months. So it does depend on your practices. And most people have a zero turn. Okay, we don't, and we're gonna get one because you just need one. The grass grows so much. I mean, sometimes once a week doesn't feel like enough cutting it. So if you hate, here's the truth. If you hate cutting grass and you do not want to live in an urban area, I would say make sure that there's some neighbor, someone who will drive way out where you are and cut your grass, because if you live out in the boondocks, you might not find anybody that's going to come out there and cut your grass. So you might have to cut your grass, and that's something to know. Or you could just have a messy yard. I'm going to let you know that's like super taboo around here. Really frowned upon. Seriously frowned upon. We are on number 9. The number 9 reason that you should not move to southern Missouri is that there are consistent road closures and delays due to road work. I didn't even know what they were doing. Coming from California, I was like, are they fixing the road? That's what? I've never seen that before. No, I mean, really, it's California. The roads where I come from in Northern California were so bad. And it wasn't always rural. It wasn't poor neighborhoods to rich neighborhoods. I mean, you would find egregious roads all over the place. So it is something that I do notice, is that they fix the roads here a lot. The dirt roads are graded and rocked, usually multiple times a year. The paved roads, even on back country highways that like 3 people drive, get paved and the potholes get filled in. I mean, yeah, it's very, very noticeable. And I also, when people would say that the dirt road was rough, I just didn't really believe them at the beginning, because I just saw like the most beautiful, like double lane, smooth, small gravel dirt roads. And I just, I didn't get it. But I actually have seen some true like bad roads. And that's when I think people who just don't have experience are putting roads in and they're not being thoughtful, putting in a switchback where they need to, things like that. But most of the time, the roads are amazing. The con is, and it may make it where you do not want to move here, is that there's a lot of road closures and delays and, diversions and whatnot just for fixing the roads. Yeah. So don't move here if you want your tax dollars used appropriately. Number 10, the last reason why you should not move to southern Missouri is the rocks. Missouri grows rocks. That's the saying, at least. And it feels true. I mean, you just go on out there with a handheld post hole digger and you think you're gonna dig a hole, huh? Ha! Well, good luck, my friend. We have done that, actually. Our last garden, we did all buried 2 feet deep, set them with chat. Because there's debate about whether you should do cement or chat and like pound it in with a rock bar. Please leave a comment down below if you have a belief about which is better in Missouri. And that's connected to the fact that we have so much water and some people think the chat is stronger. But to dig those holes was insane. Because we were both working full-time jobs, we were getting home, at night often, evening or night. We were like, I think it took us like a month. I mean, I think we weren't working on it consistently, but really it was just like this thing. And it'd be like, you know, one night we just work at that one hole. And I mean, taking out boulders. And yeah, and then we had to use a lot of chat to fill those. So I'll show you. I'm gonna take you out to our garden that we're building right now, and our latest one that we're building, and show you just some very simple tricks to get around the rock issue. Does not take a genius to figure this stuff out. It's why it took us a couple years to figure it out. No, just joking. We were just being particular. We wanted the, we wanted the really nice wood fence posts, but to tell you the truth, those really aren't the thing here. I mean, the thing is really nice pipe fencing. And that's the kind of stuff that, like, you pass that on to your children's children. You know, that's like multi-generational fencing. And that's personally where I want to move in the future. I'm just kind of over wood fencing as like this nice looking fencing. So maybe that was just California. And yeah, I think too that we do have so much water and wet ground often that there's no way wood posts would last as long here. So we're gonna head out to the garden, and I'm gonna show you some easy tricks to not break your back on rocks here in Missouri. Down here is gonna be our greenhouse and garden. So, yeah, to not have to dig, like for example, this is gonna be our foundation to our greenhouse, and we leveled it by building chat up instead of digging in. You know, I do have some concern that over time this will settle, but you know, greenhouses don't last forever. So yeah, you know, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So here we still did, you know, the tri-corner wood post just because we still do like the look, but 3 posts on each corner is a lot easier than doing the whole garden. But as you can see, so like number one way to not have to dig up all the rocks, see, like look at even right there's, it's Missouri growing rocks, is I think these are 10 foot. No, these were 8 foot. 8 foot, because hey, back in California we did have so much elk that we would do 10 foot and then put them in 2 feet for an 8 foot fence. But this, I think we're looking more like a true 6 foot. Maybe it's a little bit higher. So anyway, yeah, a T-post with a gas-powered driver, you're talking a day, not even a whole day, right? A lot easier to get those in. So that's number one, to not have to break your back. And number 2 big one is raised beds. Obviously, people know about raised beds, but we just do not dig into the earth and like amend the soil and do all that. So like you will see us do raised beds, and then we do mounds, and we do like mounded rows, you know, so we're just building up. And like this is just a new garden, but like and only these 2 beds are level, so I need to go through and level the whole garden. And because I didn't want to dig, I'm actually using all this material. I actually put in like a little bit of base rock and then just kind of like built it up a little bit with just material and leveled them instead of digging. So yeah, I'm kind of anti digging. So really easy, fairly easy ways to get around the digging. And yeah, we love raised beds. I loved them even when soil was good. You know, I'm a fan, but now in Missouri, to me, it's a must. All right, you guys, we made it to the end of the video. Thank you for sticking around. If you are thinking these cons are not a deal breaker and you're still interested in moving to Southern Missouri, give me a call, email, we can set up a Zoom meeting. All my information is going to be down below in the description, and I would be honored to be part of your journey, finding your next forever home, your legacy ranch, whatever that next piece of the puzzle is for you. And I hope that you join me for another video. Bye for now.